Deep in the heart of the whispering forest, where the air hummed with ancient songs and fireflies glowed like scattered stars, lived two friends who couldn't be more different. There was Riven, a proud young wolf, and Pip, a tiny, overly curious squirrel. Riven believed he was fearless. He raced with the wind, howled into the heart of thunderstorms, and prowled the moonlit ridges like a living shadow. He was the embodiment of wild strength, a creature born of the forest's untamed spirit. Pip, on the other hand, was afraid of almost everything. He jumped at the snap of a twig, flinched when a leaf fell, and sometimes even got startled by his own bushy tail. But his greatest fear, the one that made his little heart beat like a drum, was the dark. One particular night, something felt wrong. The moon rose in the sky, but it was strangely pale, a washed-out silver disk. The animals of the forest sensed the change immediately. The gentle breeze that always rustled the leaves died down, and the constant chirping of the crickets fell silent. An eerie quiet descended, broken only by the creeping of a soft, silvery mist that wound its way through the trees. Riven's ears twitched, sharp and alert. He let out a low growl. Something's wrong. Perched high on a branch above him, Pip was trembling, clinging to the wood for dear life. "I know," he squeaked, his voice barely a whisper. "Even the owls aren't hooting, and owls always hoot." Just then, a figure began to take shape within the swirling mist. It was a magnificent creature, a great stag made of pure, glowing light. Its antlers seemed to hold the cosmos, and its eyes shone as brightly as twin stars. When it spoke, its voice echoed like the chime of distant bells, both powerful and gentle. "I am Lunaris," it announced. The two friends stared, mesmerized. "The moon is fading," Lunaris continued, its voice filled with a deep sadness. "If its light disappears completely, this forest will lose its magic. The rivers will forget their songs, the trees will forget how to grow, and the darkness will reign forever." Pip gulped, his tiny paws gripping the branch tighter. "D disappears. You mean forever?" The thought was too much to bear. But Riven, ever the brave one, stood his ground. His heart beat steadily in his chest as he stepped forward. "Tell us what needs to be done." Luminous lowered its massive, luminous head, its starry eyes gazing at the small duo. To save the moon, its light must be rekindled. A creature of pure courage must carry the moon's ember to the highest peak, and a creature of pure heart must protect it along the way. Only when courage and heart work together can you restore the balance. Riven and Pip exchanged a look. The weight of the forest's fate seemed to settle on their shoulders. Without a moment's hesitation, Riven declared, "I'm courage." He puffed out his chest, the very picture of confidence. Pip, still trembling, looked down at his own tiny paws and then back at the great stag. "And I'm heart?" he asked, his tail giving a nervous twitch. Riven looked at his small friend, and for the first time his gaze was not one of pride, but of deep affection. "No one in this forest cares more than you." And so their epic journey began. Lunaris gave them the moon's ember, a small, warm stone that pulsed with a gentle, silvery light. Their first challenge was the Briar Labyrinth, a tangled maze of thorny vines that seemed to whisper taunts and threats as they passed. The thorns snagged at Riven's fur and pricked at Pip's paws, but Riven pushed through, his determination a shield against the creeping fear the labyrinth tried to instill. Pip, though terrified, focused all his energy on protecting the ember, shielding it from the sharpest briars with his own body. Next, they came to the Fog Lakes, a series of still, misty pools where the water was as black as ink. Phantom shapes swam just beneath the surface, ghostly fish and serpents made of mist that swirled and writhed, their forms shifting with every ripple. The air was cold and damp, and the silence was heavy, broken only by the sound of their own nervous breaths. Pip wanted to close his eyes and wish it all away, but he kept them wide open, his gaze fixed on the precious ember in his paws. He knew its light was the only thing keeping the deeper, darker phantoms at bay. Riven walked along the water's edge, his senses on high alert, ready to snap at any shadow that dared to get too close. As they journeyed on, they faced creatures born from moonless fear-shadow walls, with empty eyes and silent claws that tried to ambush them from the darkness. Each time Riven fought them off, a whirlwind of fur and teeth, his howls echoing with a defiance that sent the shadows scattering. And through it all, Pip shaking but resolute guarded the moon's ember with both paws, his small body a fortress for the last bit of moonlight in the world. Finally, they reached the Star Cliffs, towering peaks of glittering black rock that shimmered as if the night sky had been turned to stone. As they neared the summit, a powerful gust of wind hit them. Pip lost his footing, his tiny claws scrabbling for a hold on the slippery rock. But before he could plummet into the darkness below, Riven lunged. He caught Pip by the scruff of his neck, his jaws surprisingly gentle, and pulled him back onto the ledge. Pip was shaking uncontrollably, his heart pounding against his ribs. Riven set him down carefully and nudged him with his nose. "You're braver than you think, you know," Riven said, his voice low and sincere. Pip looked up at the great wolf, catching his breath. He saw the scratches and cuts from their journey, the weariness in his friend's eyes. A wave of gratitude and affection washed over him. "And you're kinder than you act," Pip replied, managing a small smile. At the very summit of the highest peak stood a cracked stone pedestal, glowing faintly with the residual magic. He drew a deep breath and let out a howl. It echoed across the mountains, through the valleys, and up into the silent sky. In response, the ember on the pedestal flared. A brilliant beam of silver light shot straight up into the heavens, striking the pale moon. Light exploded across the sky. The moon reignited in a burst of pure silver fire, brighter and more beautiful than ever before. Its gentle glow washed over the land, chasing away the shadows and the creeping mist. Down below, the forest breathed a collective sigh of relief. The crickets began to chirp their nightly symphony. The wind rustled through the leaves like a happy whisper, and the fireflies danced in joyous celebration, their lights brighter than ever. Lunarus, the great stag of light, appeared before them once more on the mountain peak. Its form was even more brilliant now, bathed in the restored moonlight. "You have done it," its voice chimed, filled with gratitude. "You have restored the balance." Courage and heart, when brought together, create the truest and greatest strength. Pip, no longer trembling, hopped gleefully onto Riven's broad head, his tail wagging furiously. Riven let out a long, dramatic sigh. He didn't bother to shake him off. He had to admit, it felt kind of nice. From that night on, whenever the moon shone its brightest, the animals of the Whispering Forest would tell their children the story of the wolf and the squirrel who saved their world. And if you were to walk through the woods on a quiet evening, you might just see them, a proud wolf and a tiny squirrel, racing through the trees. One bold, one still a little nervous, but both of them laughing together under the beautiful silver light that they had helped restore. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. See you next time.